Homestead-Miami Speedway is something of a rarity, offering multiple track configurations, but where each one is truly unique with specific challenges. The full oval is one, of course, a simple, classic, high-bank short oval, but it is the infield roval configurations that really set it apart. If you run the full infield layout, it becomes a very tight, technical, tire-brutalizing test. But if you use the modified roval, which utilizes speedway turns 3 and 4, it then becomes a great compromise challenge with a technical first half lap and then a full-on drafting strategy second half that leads you right to the finish line. On this layout, which the full Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miatas will tackle tonight, it's nearly guaranteed that where you start that final lap will not be where you finish it. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer and welcome to Homestead-Miami Speedway. I'm joined as always by Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, I think once again the drafting game of chess is on.
Oh, it's on, and it's been on the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? It's been pretty drama-filled as of late. But I can't wait for this. It's a smaller field tonight. That means people are going to get braver. They're going to feel like they can make bigger moves without being cost as much position on the racetrack. So it's going to be aggressive. We're also getting closer and closer to the end of this championship. So for those that are still in the fight, of course, it's really a two-horse race at the pointy end. But there's a whole lot of shuffling beyond that, Greg. So still plenty of opportunity for drivers to climb up the order.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd to 6th is all very much in play here. And, of course, you know, you'd rather be 3rd in the points than 5th. So there is a lot to still race for. And, of course, just winning against this field, these competitors are so good, so intense, that really is its own reward, isn't it, to get out there and have a great race against these guys. A couple of things to note here. In the driver's briefing that they do send out, there were some notes made. One, they're going to be very, very picky about dropping beneath the white line, particularly in turn 1. That will be a course cut if you get your whole car underneath it. There's plenty of room to do it there. You can't do it or you're going to be in trouble. The second thing is, Kyle, and I think you would agree with this, we've had a number of big first turn incidents that really weren't necessary at all. And so they've implemented a secondary rule, a supplemental regulation that has come in, that if you cause a major first turn incident by simply being reckless, then you will have to start from the pit lane for the next however many number of races until you either do a one-on-one training or one of the driver's schools and work on starts. And that may sound harsh, but you've got to protect the drivers who are doing it right, especially when you're getting later into the championship. I like that. I think that that lets people know we care about you if you're racing well.
Yeah, I think it promotes accountability, right? Yeah. I mean, these races are 20 minutes long, and while that might not seem very long in regards to a normal Spec Miata race, there are 2 of them. Things happen slowly. There's plenty of time to move back up through the order. You don't need to go 3, 4, 5 wide into turn 1. Daytona, we saw some big turn 1 incidents. So just promoting accountability there. That's all a part of the Full Send Sims League's mission to continue to make the racing better, cleaner, and more competitive for all. So I'm definitely for that. On the racetrack, though, Greg, it is already busy here in qualifying, and already the packs are forming up here because draft is king on this long, long course, especially with, as you pointed out, that NASCAR banking and NASCAR 3 and 4. We're not using that chicane, so you have to keep the speeds up and stay tucked in behind the driver ahead of you.
Yeah, what that really means is that turn 8 and 9, and we talk a lot about turn 8 here. It's a great overtaking area, but right here, it's so easy to get it wrong, and then you're slow out. And it's one thing if you're out through 9 and then right back diving down in the infield in 10. But here, if you're slow out of 8, you're slow all the way around to the finish line, and you are going to be absolutely smoked. Whether you're defending or trying to make a pass, it's all going to go away on you. So that becomes a hugely critical corner, more so than ever. Still good overtaking opportunity right here into turn 7. And you remember you turn in and then it opens up. So you can turn in a little bit sooner, use a lot of that exit curve, and just start feeding it power. And then you get set up here for this run into turn 8. And as we said, this one is critical.
Yeah, Beans Forrester giving us a unique perspective here this week. If you have a look on board here, he's got his first-person perspective, including all of the iRacing overlays and all the tools that he's using. And Greg, on the right there, you can see actually the throttle and brake traces. And I think this is a really cool insight there. You see the clutch in the blue, the green in the throttle, and of course the red in the middle is your brake trace. Now, the cool thing about this is there's a scrolling graph that will show as he's trail braking how much over time that pedal is pressed down. So let's ride around here with Beans for a minute and just watch his traces. It's that horizontal bar on the left of the vertical green bar as he goes down into these first couple of corners, and you'll see the green and red trade places as the throttle goes to 0% and the red goes probably close to 100%. Here we go. You watch that red line trail down, and then the green right back up. So that's really cool to see that over time, Greg. And this is something that you'll look at in data to help you get quicker.
Well, and for people who are wondering, when you talk about trail braking or threshold braking, what does that mean? Well, you're looking at it right here, aren't you? You literally, as you depress the brake pedal, as you get rid of speed, if you don't decrease the pressure on the pedal, you're going to lock up. And so you've got to trail off the pedal or come back, manage that threshold. And if you don't, you'll lock up. So you've got to do that. But when you're using this manual shift like Beans is, you're also at the same time heel and toeing. That is the magical art of what race driving used to be before we got into paddle shifts and everything goes sort of electronically managed. This is the racing ballet. Look at that. Down 2 blips. Had to trail off as he did that, and then gets back on the and the whole key there, Kyle, is if you do that smoothly, where you can trail off, do the blips, and then pick the throttle up. Jackie Stewart used to say you put a big dish on the hood of your car with a ball in the middle of it. You always want that ball around the edge, never in the center and never falling off. That's the art.
It's almost like a coordinated turn in flying, right? You got to make sure you have your rudder and your ailerons, everything coordinated. And the same is true with your pedals and your steering wheel to maximize that grip circle. So Bean's showing us some really cool insights there with those data lines as he comes across the stripe. And it's a 38.9, a little slower than he had run. It's Camden Hibbett up at the top. I believe he was out at June Sprints last week. A number of drivers were competing at Road America. It was a pretty wet and wild weekend there on Saturday. Weather improved on Sunday, but it was pretty crazy out there from what I saw in that Spec Miata field. Some good racing, though.
Yeah, they always put it on. And, of course, I think there was over 500 entries at the sprints in total, which is not a surprise since that, of course, is where the runoffs are going to be. So everybody comes for sprints weekend and uses it as a big test. But Spec Miata fields are just spectacularly big anyway, and the best of the best in the country are there, at least in terms of real world. We have the best of the best in terms of virtual for sure, but really, really good stuff. And it's going to be so fun. Oh, Camden really chucking it down in there and doing a nice job. And he's got a pretty healthy margin right now. He turned a 137 flat. Josh Soto, who had top practice at a low 38, has dropped to a 37.96, but he's still about 34 100ths off of Camden. So Camden's moving along smartly right now.
Yeah, and the big note here is that Morgan Burkhardt is not here so far.
Yeah.
And with 10 rounds or 10 races counted for each in the points, they're kind of on equal footing at the moment. 14 points back is Camden Hibbett. So Morgan's not here as part of this 20-car field. So that could swing the points in a pretty big way here, especially as we get closer and closer to the end of this season.
Well, and the other thing is also not here is the guy who's in third, our defending champion, Nicholas Rice-Puto. And this is interesting to me for him because, he's only run fully 10 races. So everything he's done has to count right now. So this is an interesting development for me. I'm not sure what's going on there, if he's having a problem, or whatever, but this is pretty big news.
I'd say so. Lon Shi Lin is taking full advantage of the drivers that are out, though, and up to 4th place here in qualifying, and we've seen him steadily improve and come to grips with this car a bit over time, but inside the top 5 here in qualifying, and it's ripe for the picking without those the two of the top 3 in the points here. So I think he's absolutely circling this.
And did you just see his reaction there? He came out of that twisty infield 3-4-5 section, had a car right in front of him and was clearly thinking, I'm going to get a nice tow. And the guy pulled over and slowed down, and he just threw his hand up like, oh no. So the frustrations are here, and that's one of the things. The field down a little bit, and I think it's probably because a few of our players, have had other commitments and the like. But that means you got less people to maybe get a tow off of here. And so it becomes even, in a way, all the more crucial, doesn't it?
It sure does. And, in qualifying here, I think there's such thing as having too many cars on the road. I don't think we're there tonight. I think we're probably in the instance of not having enough as far as getting an organized drafting train going for those that had teammates or something of the sort. Court Schmidt, 6th, and Andrew Gilliland, P5 at the moment. So he's had a very strong start to the night here in qualifying.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking at this right now. The top 6 right now, down to Court Schmidt, are covered by 3/4 of a second. That's how close this is. Camden's 37.092 hangs on to it, and then there's that chunk, that 34/100s, but then we're talking pretty small increments the rest of the way back.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really interesting race, though, because we've got Soto up there who's in the top 5 in points. We've got Beans who's up there in the top 5 in points, and we've got Camden. So it's really going to be, are those 3 going to pull away from everybody else and make it a race amongst themselves? Or, as you mentioned, 3/4 of a second back, can Wan Shi Lin, Andrew Gillen, Court Schmidt, Dylan Lee, and others cling to that front trio and maybe give us a first-time winner here tonight?
I think that's entirely possible. Another guy that I wouldn't count out, he's a little bit farther back than he wants to be right now, is Jean Reyes, who has shown some really, really good speed, some good aggressive, racing, but, pretty clean. And he's somebody that has shown some pretty impressive pace on a few occasions here. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him show a little bit of speed here.
Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty interesting evening here. This is a track that we've already been to once this season, albeit with the chicane layout. So, we saw some drama there earlier in the year, but now the cards have kind of unfolded a bit differently with a few of the heavy hitters missing. Can perhaps Deacon Greenfield take advantage of it? He's 9th right now here in qualifying. Andrew Wozencroft, 12th. And Trace Hance will start all the way down in 21st. He did not get the run I think he was hoping for in this qualifying
session. No, not at all. Well, and the interesting thing too, you're talking about, Deacon. He's 8th in the points, so I mean, he could make a big leap here this evening as well. So smaller field, but a smaller track, and I think the racing's still going to be fabulous. And for that, of course, we have to say thank you to Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt and everything that he has done in putting this together. Remember, along with the business and the sims and all of that, he has created this league not just as a marketing exercise for Full Send Sims, but also to foster driver education and create an as real-to-life racing experience as possible in the virtual world. That's why it says practice makes podium. You practice in the sim, you go out and you race, you end up on the podium. That's the idea here. New sponsor coming on board this season, FARA, the Formula and Automobile Racing Association, right now a Florida-based series, looking to expand next year. They've been around a while, but in their second year under new ownership, including our own Jose De Las Casas, who races with us a lot, and they provide some of the most accessible road racing for spectators, drivers, whatever. No cost to get in. It's a simple parking fee. Entry fees are reasonable. Lots of different types of cars and competitors, and it's a great time, and all of their events are streamed. And then, of course, those that have been with us right from the beginning, 3P Logistics, Frank Rodriguez agreed to come on right from the off, and they have just done it right. They take care of booking flights, rental cars, hotels, group gatherings, everything you need while you're away from home. And they often work hand in hand with Final Turn Motorsports and Rob Greenwood, who work with them closely. They do dyno tuning, Miata tranny builder, a front-running chassis builder, partnered with the best engine builders in the Spec Miata class. And then, of course, Wine Country Motorsports. They are the largest combined inventory of premium race gear brands in the country when it comes to suits, gloves, helmets, safety equipment in particular. So huge thank you to all of them. And we want to remind everybody really quickly that our next race, we're jumping ahead a little bit here, is Road America next Tuesday evening. This coming Thursday, there's a group practice at Road America. So if you haven't been there in a while, you want to just get a little bit more familiar with it, you've got that opportunity as well. So lots of things continuing to happen here with Full Send Sims.
Take a look at the quick weather here. It is 123 on the racetrack. Pretty toasty out there, I would say, and that's going to keep things pretty interesting as drivers try to keep their tires on board. 14-mile-an-hour winds, but with all that, let's move aside and move on to the starting lineup for this one here, Greg. On the front row, it's Camden Hibbett in the 132 and Joshua Soto. Remember, Camden is second in the championship, trying to make up some points that Morgan Burkhardt is not here to get.
Yeah, he's got great opportunity, doesn't he? Starting in that second row, it's going to be the 23 of Beans Forster starting third, and Wan Chi Lin in the number 68 will start fourth. Both of them big opportunities in terms of points.
Andrew Gilliland right up in the top 5 for the start here in the inside of row 3. Court Schmidt will start alongside him in 6th in number 33.
Then starting in the 7th spot, the 200 of Dylan Lee, and Max Bankin will start 8th in the 00.
And in 9th place, he'll be Deacon Greenfield in the number 20, and Jim Friedhofer in 10th in the number 89.
Starting in the 11th spot, number 29, we talked about him, Jean Reyes, and Andrew Wozencroft, who is having an absolutely superb year, will start 12th in the number 80.
And 13th place, Hayden Manis in the number 65, and Andrew Guada in the 61 starts 14th.
In the 15th spot, it's going to be Joshua Clatterbuck in the 901 and Rich Green in the number 22.
And 17th place, Wayne Buttermore in the 73 car. 18th place, Sawyer Richards in the number 125.
And then coming up, it'll be the 916 of Leonardo Escorpione starting in the 19th spot. And then two guys that I think are going to be fun to watch coming from the back. Dean Dibdahl starting 20th in the 99. And as you pointed out, Trace Hans didn't get a time either. And both those guys are fast. Should be fun to watch.
Doesn't look like Leonardo Escorpione made the grid, so he will either start from the pits or not at all. But with that aside, it's about time to kick things off. 2 20-minute races here tonight. And Greg, it's race time. We've been waiting a while for it, and the championship is getting hot. But without one of our major players, I think the podiums are ripe for the picking here.
Yeah, it's going to be curious to me just what mindset Camden has coming in here. Does he go for it hard, take risks, or does he say I'm not willing to scrap that hard? We'll find out right now as we're green. Camden noses ahead just a little bit here, and already starting to fan out. And side by side, as you would expect, watch Wan Chi Lin. Ooh, right from the off, Camden, he got way down to the inside, and here's a really aggressive move by Jean Reyes, and that's what you need to be a little careful with here with that new rule coming in. But everybody seemed, and again, Kyle, obviously the smaller field doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I think the smaller field that definitely helped there, but regardless, a nice clean run through the opening few corners. Hibbett leads Forster, leads Soto and Lynn. A little bit of side-by-side still behind, and one car popping out of line at the 00 of Bankin on Jean Reyes now for 8th place, tucking in line. That's the smart move here early. Just get in line, figure out what you got, and move your way forward.
Yeah, Bankin made a big move early when the green came out and had to tuck back in as well. Oh, big compression there, a little bit of contact.
Whoa.
Nothing too hard. Oh, there's Wozencroft just somehow escaping. That's the number 99 at Dibdahl, and man, we've got a mess.
Yeah, that was a big mess there. A couple cars come to a grinding halt there. Sawyer Richards went for a ride, didn't he? He went sailing off course.
Yes, he did.
At the tail end of that. Here's what happened there. Well, we'll catch the beginning of it in a little while, but he just gets kind of launched and then, wow, big up into the air.
Yeah, that was nasty, and of course it was just the two tires when they got squeezed right. Where's that coming up here?
Right here.
Right here, you see it, and right there the tires touched and just launched and then got into Sawyer and just pitched him into the tires, so that's unfortunate.
Wozencroft into Friedhofer is what kind of triggered that whole thing to start. And he was just trying to gather some purchase there, and then it just kind of gets tight.
Yeah, that squeeze play, and he just never saw. I don't think he realized there was a car in between the two. But up front, the battle is on. And Beans has wasted no time, has jumped into second, latched onto the back of Camden Hibbett. And Josh Soto sitting there watching, and Andrew Gilliland has snuck around. Man, what a race he's putting on. He's gone around on Wan Chi Lin and has slotted into 4th.
Yeah, he's doing a really nice job right now. His mission is going to be to stay with these front 3. All 3 of these drivers are in the top 5 in points, so if he can stick with them, that would show a lot of strength, I think, and put him in position to potentially win this race. We've seen drivers win from 4th or 5th here. Why not Andrew Gilliland? But he's got to keep pace with them, and that's going to be the big challenge. These drivers are kind of in their own zip code here at Homestead.
Absolutely, and the one thing that we've learned, and I've been fortunate to announce some of the Pro Spec Miata races for FARA here that use this same layout often, and more often than not, if you're in the first 2 going into turn 1, you're in trouble. By the end of that lap because of the draft. So it's easy to be able to lay back a little bit and still be able to make something happen. I think the other thing for Andrew, he's a young guy and he's got all the skills. We've seen it. But I think this is an opportunity for a massive confidence boost if he can stick with guys named Hibbett, Forster, and Soto and outpace Wan Chi Lin. That's big.
It will be, and I think this track will give you an opportunity because of this long bank section in the NASCAR 3 and 4 corner here. So, the problem is it's coming out of a pretty slow dig. So that turn 8 is pretty critical so that you get a decent launch. We've seen in the past that these cars don't quite draft as well as the newer generation cars do here in iRacing. But with Josh Soto kind of, trying to pick the pocket of Forster, look at Gillen.
Josh might be regretting that move, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, from a long ways back, Gillen saw the door open, and he did not wait. He just went for it. How about that?
That was spectacular. Check it out from this angle, Kyle. It was an absolute, we've talked about how you need to be decisive. Well, he just defined it.
Now right here, door open, big lunge way later on the brakes, and he got established alongside him, jumps the curb here nicely, keeps the overlap into turn 2, and then completes it there. Very nicely done.
Yeah, that was, well, talk about confidence, man. He is showing it right now. Now the thing is that little move, obviously, just that moment of side-by-side, that little bit of a gap of about a half a second to Camden and Beans has opened up. So now Andrew with Soto, they have got to just say, all right, let's get after it here. Let's close back up. And right now, Court Schmidt is attacking Juan Chi Lin as well for that final spot in the top 5. So got some really good stuff happening everywhere here.
Yeah, Andrew Guada was a little side-by-side here with Wozencroft in turn 8. Ooh, that's a bit tight as they leave the hairpin and head on to the long back straightaway here. You pointed out the gap between Forster and Gilliland at 0.6 of a second, still well within drafting distance, and I'm watching that come down as we speak on the banking here. So he's got enough draft to at least knock that differential down 2 or 3 tenths on the straightaway. That's all you really need.
And he's kind of, as you often say, the draft bridge right now for Soto, isn't he?
Absolutely. And then Juan Chi Lin is 0.6 tenths back from Soto, so he's not out of it either. But as long as these drivers are keeping 0.6 tenths or less, I think they're in a good spot. Once you get to 8 or 9 tenths, that effect really starts to wane, and you're not getting a lot of pull from the car ahead.
Yeah, and right now for Court Schmidt, what's going to be aggravating him is instead of being able to focus on Juan Chi Lin, right behind him you see that flash of purple and black here. Jean Reyes is all over the back of Court now, and we know that Jean has speed, and he too is pretty decisive. Track temps have come down by almost 5 degrees with this cloud cover, and this track the infield is brutal on tires, so these drivers will certainly be appreciating that.
Yeah, it came down a lot in a very short amount of time. We're only 6 minutes into this race, and it's dropped 9 degrees, so that's a pretty significant drop, and that you will feel that in the race car. But
well, this track, along with just being brutal on tires in terms of just pounding them. Ooh, big late lunge there by Reyes, and he got by not just Schmidt, but also dove down on Juan Chi Lin. He might make this a double pass here, and Juan Chi's doing everything he can to try and just fight him from the outside here. And Court's going with Juan Chi. We'll see how this plays out.
A little contact there between the two as they drove up onto the straightaway, and Juan Chi's going to hold them fairly tight into the banking. Court's going to run up behind the 68, the orange and blue car, and he's going to pop out 3 wide for a moment, or try to go 3 wide, but didn't have the momentum to do it. And Reyes is going to pull ahead on that inside lane.
And now Court drops down underneath and tries to go with Reyes. Now he's going to try and split him as he got that double draft, and they are 3 wide as our leaders are 4 on top of each other pretty much, diving down into 1 and 2, and now working through this really tricky turn 3, 4, 5 complex. We've got, we don't have a lot of cars in this race, but most of them are in the battle for the lead.
Yeah, watch this. This all happened because Josh Soto saw an opportunity to go back by Gilliland, and he did right here. But as they hit the braking zone, look at Soto. He really couldn't do much more than that. Gilliland wasn't able to respond. So really just a change between 3rd and 4th. But they came by turn 1 in a hurry.
They did, and that little exchange has now allowed Reyes. He's less than half a second back, along with Juan Chi right there in that blue car with the orange stripe. Then Court, and then not even that big of a gap back to Dylan Lee, Deacon Greenfield. Like I said, we've got a pretty good pack going right here as we take a look at Juan Chi in the office.
Going down a couple gears there, but he's got a Logitech shifter down there to his right, and a Formula-style rim. This is a very strange wheel and shifter combo, as I pointed out before. The Formula-style rim on a Miata is a bit strange, but if it's what you got to work with it, and it doesn't seem to be holding them back too much right now.
No, doing a really nice job at this stage, sitting in that 6th spot. just off of Reyes. And you can see that group up front, that lead group of 4. Still, they are covered by a second for that lead group here. And well, I'll tell you, Forster is really playing the patient waiting game right now, isn't he?
He is, and he's put himself in a very nice spot. Wan Shi-Lin on the offense here on Jean Reyes into turn 1. And tracking out a little wide there, and Court Schmidt still clinging to it. So it's really a 7-car battle up here. Dylan
yeah,
Lee's,
pretty much.
Dylan Lee's not too far back either. There he is, and he's got Deacon Greenfield and Hayden Manis with him.
Yeah, it's a really good scrap here. I mean, pretty much we got the top 10 at this stage covered by 4 seconds. That's a pretty good grouping here as we're coming up on 11 minutes to go. And, we had some fireworks a little bit early, and now things have calmed down, and Trace Hance up there right now is just trying to stay in front of these guys. And he's quick enough that he, may not be a factor in the outcome of this race. If they get a whiff and use him as a draft, though, that could certainly change things up.
Yeah, Trace's last lap time was his best, but it's still 0.3 slower than Camden Hibbett's last lap. So I think he is going to get put a lap down. How much of a fight he'll put up, that's the next question. Though I'm not sure that he'll have much of a choice when they draft by him either way, but it could be just enough of a catalyst to really spice things up here at the pointy end as we get down to the last half of this race. And Forster,
he's certainly a carrot up there, isn't he?
He is, and Forster, I think, is playing a very smart race, running in second behind Camden. He hasn't really given a lot of an attempt to go to the lead. He's just kind of being patient back here. And if I'm Camden Hibbett, I know exactly what Beans Forster is doing, and that's waiting.
Absolutely. He's looking for weakness. He's judging his opponent. Now he looks to the inside here, but and look at Soto, got a great run. And so Beans may have felt, I got to do something here and protect. I don't think Beans had any intention of passing Camden there. That was to keep Soto from coming around him.
And it worked, and it put Soto right back in the crosshairs of Gilliland there. So very smart driving we're seeing out of the 23 at the moment. And Reyes and Wan Shi-Lin are now just packed up right behind the tailgate of Andrew Gilliland, and Court Schmidt clinging on half a second behind that.
Ooh, look at that on the nose of Gilliland. We've heard about this new damage model. And you get those little wrinkles in the nose, it can mess up the draft a little bit here. And he's got a couple there, but boy, he's doing a brilliant job, even with that right now, just staying right there.
Yeah, this is not a track that it's going to be very much fun, and it won't be fun at Road America either with those long straightaways next week. But I think if there's any place for you to be, it's in a draft. It would hurt you a lot more if you were out by yourself and you just get run down by the next group. So.
And to give you an idea of the pace of young Andrew Gilliland right now, he has the fastest lap in the race, Kyle, by 1/10 of a second. He is quicker than Wan Shi-Lin. So that's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, that's great pace. It's the damage the situation there kind of reminds me of Kurt Busch a couple years ago, 2018 or 17 or something, when he won the Daytona 500. And his car was torn to pieces, but because he was tucked in the draft the whole time, the air never had to go around any of the damage until he popped out of line to win the race. So if you can play that, and stay in draft, I think you're in a good spot. Now, the problem is now I think he's a little far back, and without being tucked up, it's going to hurt him more, I think.
And he just got a big gift, because look at this. Both those guys just absolutely split Hibbett, and that allowed, and Reyes came up through nowhere as well. But for a second, I was going to say Gilliland, he just got a multi-car tow that would negate that little problem, but he actually lost a spot because Reyes bounced as well.
Yeah, that 29 car is creeping into the picture, isn't he? Started 11th, up to 4th, and this is the right acceleration rate to get where he needs to be at the right time.
Yeah, I've just kind of been thinking that at some point we've seen the speed from Reyes look at that move.
The aggression. He is so aggressive tonight, and it's paying off for him.
Yep, and it's aggression, but it's also decisive moves, like we saw Andrew make. But that time, a beautiful counter move by Soto, who stayed on his outside, and then that pinched his radius through turn 7, and just caused him to lose a little bit of speed. Now Reyes again diving down the inside of Soto. This time he's through, and the question is, did he overshoot? And no, it looked like he got out of there really, really well. And so he has nailed that spot. And here comes Wan Shi. He got a great head of steam here.
Yeah, they're going to stay nose to tail here through the banking. They are now 0.9 of a second back. and they are in danger of losing these front two. And Hibbett and Forster both know the situation here. If they can break this draft, they will only have to fight amongst themselves. If that third pack or that second group comes into picture here, then they're going to have to fight with 5, 6, 7, 8 more cars. So Camden and Forster are going to work together here to try to continue to break away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only reason, Forster went with that split was because he knew Soto was going. And, so, yeah, this is all that cat and mouse that we talk about, with this drafting. And, really, you just want to hold position here in the infield, not make a mistake, not lose any time, so that when you come out of turn 8, you're in the right spot to maximize that draft and that toe. But, I mean, look at this train. This is absolutely superb stuff. All the way back to Deacon Greenfield. I mean, they were 4 seconds covering the top 10 a while ago. It's 3.5 now. Look at this. And
they were 9/10 back on the banking. They were 4/10 back from Camden in turn 2. And Soto's a little wide there. That's going to hurt his exit, but John Reyes is putting in an excellent infield section here to keep it tight to Camden and Forster, and that means that as long as he can keep this gap where it is, he'll be 3/10 back from him next time through turn 2, and that's basically there.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So this is going to be really crucial here. Get through this corner.
Oh, heard somebody hit somebody. I think that was Juan Shi to the back of Gilliland.
Yeah, there was a pretty good thunk there,
wasn't it? Nope, it's Deacon Greenfield.
No. That looks like motor, maybe, huh?
Yeah, and that sound.
Yeah. Man, he was having such a good run.
He was trying to make up time in the braking, I think, and here's on board. Oh, yep. Sounds like you're dropping an anvil on an oven.
It really does. Well, that's a shame. We were talking about he came in here 8th in the points and had an opportunity here. And that's kind of gone away here. 4/10 now between Hibbett and Reyes. Yeah, that's closing down as they get into one.
The silver lining for Deacon is that next race you have an opportunity to make up a bunch of spots, and since the field isn't that deep, you don't have to work quite as hard this week as you likely will for Road America next week. So this track tends to not be incredibly popular here in iRacing, but Road America certainly is. So I imagine we'll see our fields, deep into the 30s again next time out. So take advantage of the low field and don't let this that blown engine ruin your whole night.
Right. Yeah. You've got to look at that silver lining, and you mentioned sometimes this track isn't that popular. So you go, well, why are we racing here? One of the things that we, with this series, try and do is mirror real-world racing as much as possible. And FARA races here a lot, SCCA races here a lot, and like Court said, this is also a training. It's not just fun racing; it's training. And we're Spec Miatas do a lot of racing. Those are the tracks where we tend to hold events for this series.
Yeah, I think the challenge with this particular venue in iRacing is that, because all the tracks are paid, right? If you're a road racer, you're not typically going to buy tracks like Homestead-Miami Speedway, because you're going to be racing at Spa and Watkins Glen and Le Mans and all those other places, right? The tracks that you tend to lean on as far as purchases are the ones that you use all the time. And if you're a road racer, you're not going to use Homestead all the time. But Daytona, that's always big in the spring, in the winter. And then the other thing to consider also is that free tracks tend to have a lot more participation. So I guarantee if this track was free, oh boy, we would see it
we would be packed.
Yep. Forster leads, Hibbett second, Reyes third. And I think next time by, it's going to be close between 2 and 1 to go.
Do you see Gilliland? He was all over the curb. I don't know if he was thinking about a pass or whether he was just trying to not get into the back of Soto. Juan Shi getting really crossed up back there. But watch Gilliland here.
Oh, just late on the brakes.
Yeah, very. This is where he really got up on that curb.
Good avoidance there. But he's still in the hunt here. And again, it's going to be tight between 2 and 1 lap to go next time by. It should be 2, but if these drivers are running mid to low 38s, we could see a 1 situation here.
Well, the interesting thing to me, for John Reyes, the fact that track temperature dropped a lot is helping, because he had to really push to come up through the pack. It's down to 106.
That's a 17-degree drop in 18 minutes.
That's just massive. And he had to push coming through, and this track is really tough on tires. So that's going to help him. Soto right there, Gilliland right there. We've got this top 5. Then there's, really, it's still incredibly close here.
Into the banking. 2 minutes left. And it's going to be very close. This will be one of those finishes where I have to watch the starter to know if we're going to get the white or not. With a minute 54 left to go. And
here we go.
About 10 seconds different. So it will be 2 laps to go, unless they were all to cross each other up and slow themselves down about 8 to 10 seconds, which I've seen happen before. Look at this into turn 1. Reyes on the outside, powering around Camden Hibbett, but he's in the dirt.
Just enough, and that is going to allow Campbell. Look at Reyes. He wants to stay put. Finally realizes I've got to get back in line or I'm going to be really slow through 4 and out of 5, and tucks back in again. But he is showing his intention here pretty obviously. And like we said, he's not really in this championship, so he's just going to get after it and go for the win. And why not? I mean, that's why you're here, obviously. And that's where I'm talking about just how racy will Camden be here if he's got a Reyes or a Soto that are just pounding on his rear deck here.
Now, Beans Forster has put himself in prime position to win this race next time by, but he's going to have to make that little Miata about as wide as he can get it, especially with Camden. I mean, I don't think waiting to the very end here is pretty risky. It's not quite as big of a run as Daytona back to the checkers, and we saw that even with a little bit of a run, it was still hard to get it done at Daytona a few weeks ago. So if I'm Camden, I want to have this lead by the time I leave 8 and then get defensive.
I think that's exactly the way you want to do it. I mean, obviously, you can get a heck of a pull with the draft here, but it just, to me, sometimes you just want to have the race in your control. And here comes Camden. And again, we're just coming around to get the white, so 1 more lap to go. And he is just trying to do everything he can to push Beans, keep this gap going. And they've got a little bit of a gap now. Back to Reyes, about 0.3 of a second. Reyes closes huge under braking here. He just rolls an awful lot of speed down through turn 1 and 2, doesn't he?
Yeah, but this is what I fear, is that as soon as Camden and Beans get side by side in the backstretch, Jean Reyes is going to be pouncing on them as they're side by side. If they're nose to tail, that's different, right? But when they're side by side, all of a sudden they're going to both hit that air like a ton of bricks, and Reyes is going to have a shove from Soto. So keep an eye on this.
And look at this now. Soto has been able to shake Andrew Gillen a little bit. Soto showed the nose. I'm not sure, again, he was thinking about a pass. I think he was trying to get Reyes to make a little mistake. Court Schmidt diving down underneath Wan Chi Lin, trying to make a move here. And these guys having a heck of a duel right now for that 6th spot. There's Andrew, who's just lost touch a little bit with Soto. So now it's really down to those top 4. And look at this, side by side. Hibbett thinking about it, then tucks right back in again. But instead of having that little bit of a draft, that has just allowed Reyes and Soto to be all over him. Here we go, on to this big last run for the final time, Kyle. Soto a little farther back, and I think Reyes farther back than he wants to be.
Yeah, but Reyes is going to get a big shove from Soto, and that gap is coming down. Is it timed right enough? Hibbett was practicing this run last lap, but he lifted. But look at Reyes. He's going to have a big head of steam coming. Maybe Hibbett will take advantage of a shot from the 29. They're coming out of NASCAR turn 4 here, Greg. Here they come.
And look what Hibbett was trying to do. He was trying to go up the banking and then come down, use it as a little bit of a launch point, side by side down the front straight. Oh my goodness, how close was it at the line here? 28 1/1000ths of a second. Hibbett over Forster, and Reyes equally as close pretty much. Wow, what a finish.
That was phenomenal, and it was just all about timing. Hibbett, see him tuck back in this draft late on the banking here, goes back to the high side, and Reyes just ran out of time.
Yep.
But just at the very end, the last couple 100 feet, that's where Hibbett had the advantage. You go back right about here, to this line, Forster's actually would have won the race, but another few 100 feet, and that's where Hibbett wins.
And I think if Soto had been right on Reyes' back, that could have changed things. But if you go back just a little bit farther, Kyle, I think where this race was won by Hibbett was as they were coming through, when he went high right there, and then right here, and now he turns down, uses the banking, and look at the acceleration. He closes up and then pops to the outside. He actually used that banking as a little ramp just to help him roll a little bit extra speed, get back in that draft. Man, that was a great strategic win by Camden Hibbett.
Yeah, job well done there. And I think the session's going to turn over before we can look at too much more of the results. So I'll get them on screen as quickly as I can. And there's a look at things. That was fun, and we get to do it all over again,
man.
Greg. That was great.
I know. I love this format. And how about that battle? Andrew Gilliland ending up in 5th. Court Schmidt and Wan Chi Lin having a great battle. Court getting 7th. And Wan Chi up into the 6th spot. Dylan Lee, Hayden Manis, Max Bankin, Andrew Wozencroft. That was absolutely fabulous racing. And this is kind of what we talked about at the top of the show, that this track just promotes this. Again, in that twisty first half of the lap, don't make mistakes, don't lose position or a chunk of time. Be where you need to be coming out of turn 8. And these guys put on a clinic.
Yeah, they sure did, and I think we learned a lot there about those front 3. They are not able to pull away. As long as the drivers behind are reasonably trying to work together, they're going to keep touch with those front 3. What everybody just learned there is how far back you can be. You learned that you can't be 3rd. That's at Daytona, 3rd or 4th might have been the place to be, but here I think you got to be 2nd. And Camden, he had to pull out all the stops and all the strategy to get it done because on the banking versus earlier in the lap, but now he knows exactly where to be in this next race, and now Beans knows exactly where he needs to be, so maybe they'll reshuffle the deck and try again a different way next time.
Yeah, I think for Beans, this was probably a little bit frustrating because he had that little bit of a margin. I think he thought, I might be able to do this, and then Camden, man, that was absolutely strategic brilliance, using going up when he had a little bit too much speed, where he knew I'm not gonna, if I go now, it's not going to work. Went up the banking, used the banking to propel him back down, popped to the outside with that little bit of momentum. The other guy that I want to really be paying attention to in this next race is Jean Reyes. Came from 11th to 3rd. Now he gets to start 3rd. This could change things up quite a bit, too.
I'd say so, and I think the other drivers that get another lease on life here, Trace Hance, I absolutely believe he can drive through the field in the same way that Jean Reyes did. And Jean Reyes now not having to drive through the field, I think he's going to be a huge threat in this one. The weather was also a topic of discussion. Dropped 17 degrees.
That was stunning.
I don't know what's going to happen in this next race. It could continue to drop all the way down to ambient, Greg, which if we look right now, it's ambient's 81. The track temp is currently 114. It's up during this warm-up, so it's fluctuating throughout this simulated day. One of the things about iRacing is that you can schedule on the clock when the sessions run, so they don't always run immediately back-to-back. Weather can kind of move in and out between our races, so we really don't know what we're going to get, although it has been cloudy most of the day so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was, since the race ended, that was just an 8-degree gain in the track temperature. So it's obviously mixing things up a little bit. Another guy I'm interested to see what he's going to do in this one is Dean Dibdahl, who we know has really good pace. And, you had talked about it, without this huge 30 to 40 car field, you have an off race like he did. He'll start 14th instead of 34th. So opportunity there as well. So I think this one's going to be fun. Yeah,
it's going to be for sure. As we continue to work our way through the championship here, you mentioned Road America is next week, but we'll take a quick look at the schedule. So it's Road America and then Sebring, and that's it. And both of those racetracks are, they've got drafting opportunity. They've got some slow hairpin diving opportunities. It's not unlike this track here. Of course, Road America and Sebring being full road courses, they have a little bit different characteristics for sure, but there is long straights, there is tight hairpins, and there is going to be a pretty interesting title fight, I think, especially with Morgan missing this round. So it's going to get spicy these next couple weeks.
I think so. And the one thing about Road America in these cars, even the slower turns at Road America, these cars still roll a fair amount of speed relative to what their high speed is. Turn 5, turn 6, they're still getting through there a little bit. It's not like 3, 4, 5 at Sebring, where it's a lot tighter. So, there's still enough to, mix it up, make it interesting. But at both those tracks, particularly Road America, but even Sebring, you've got those long enough straights. You tend to forget, don't you, Kyle? Coming out of turn 5 at Sebring, the next thing is turn 7, but that's a long, fast section in there, and you get all these opportunities for those little, I don't know if you call them micro drafts or what, but they add up over a lap, don't they?
They sure do, and so we've got the next race coming up here in about 30 seconds time, and again, we'll see how the weather shifts and shuffles. It's still showing cloudy here, but for looking down from high above, it does appear that it is a little sunnier than it was. So we'll see. As I mentioned, the sessions don't have to run nose to tail with each other in the day. They can race 1 can be set to 1 p.m. and race 2 can be set to 6 p.m. We can see time and weather shuffled. Now, we don't typically see that here in this series, at least not to an extent that we can notice. But with those big swings in temperature we saw, I would definitely keep an eye on that and see how it makes things pan out. So checker flag here and warm up here, Greg, and we'll get race 2 underway here shortly.
Absolutely. While we're in between here, we're talking about the season championship coming up. Obviously, the top 3 will get trophies for the top 3 in the points. But one of the great things about this championship, there's some really great hardware prizes that are given out, and it goes to the highest eligible person. And if you're an instructor, if you're a member of the series in any way, shape, or form, you're not eligible. If you've won one of these within a calendar year, you're not eligible. So even if you don't win the championship, you could be third and still get the winner's prize. Just listen to what they're offering up here. And it's getting more important as we're getting into these last couple of rounds. If you are the highest placing eligible driver, you can get a Sabel GT Pad race seat. That's just extraordinary. Second place, a set of SimLab XPI pedals. Third place, an iFlag LED flag box. So there's a lot to be racing for here, and looking forward to how the rest of the season plays out. But I'm looking forward to seeing how race 2 plays out here at Homestead.
Yeah, I really am excited to see how this race pans out. And again, those iFlags are really, really cool. It's basically like those electronic corner marshal flags that you see on tracks nowadays at FIA Grade 2 and above. Basically like that, but in your sim rig. And they also do some pretty cool things. The newer ones can also show you left and right as far as spotter indication. They can show you gear. They can do all sorts of really cool things. So I'm a big fan of those iFlag boxes. All right, now that we've turned over to the session, well, the weather is the same, 114 degrees Fahrenheit. Right. High humidity, though, Greg, 80% humidity.
Yeah, it's jump, man. It's Homestead in the summer. I guess we're living up to it, aren't we? Hey, and I do want to remind everybody that Sebring, of course, is the 9th of July when we'll be racing there. But 2 weeks after that, we're talking about all these great awards. We have a live award ceremony on YouTube that you can tune in, and at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, that'll be the 23rd of July on Tuesday night once again, and be a part of the awards. So again, Court Schmidt, Full Send Sims, man, they are doing this series up absolutely right. And looking forward to this race getting away here in short order. And again, I don't know, you hate to, say favorite or anything, but I just got this feeling about Jean Reyes. Unless something untoward happens, I think he's in this one for a potential win. I really think
so too. He's poised in the right position. The aggression is there, and I think he hasn't been completely at the pointy end for where everyone kind of knows what he's going to do, right? So he's a bit of a wild card in that instance, but he's been driving very nicely tonight. I think he's kind of tuned in with the car, with the course, and I think that's a dangerous thing for everybody else around him. Andrew Gilliland started 5th in the last race. He will start 5th in this race because that's where he finished the last race as well. So he's still looking to climb up the order a bit higher and have his first podium.
Man, and he had a couple of spectacular passes in that race, some absolutely decisive, beautiful moves. So we'll keep an eye on Andrew here. And again, Camden Hibbett, man, we were talking about this on this points battle. He came in 14 back of Morgan Burkhardt, got that absolutely crucial win in great style. Look at the smile. I think he's sensing a real opportunity here. And here's the guy who wants to make it pretty miserable for him here, in a good way, of course.
Andrew Gilliland getting set. Hold those belts tight. And then, of course, Wan Shi Lin is our other on board tonight. Giving us his perspective.
I love how chill they are, right? And that's, that's what you want to see inside of a real car cockpit as well. In the real world, you want to see people that are just chill, going, I got this.
You know what made me laugh thinking about that is I saw a couple years old video of some folks at an Army base getting assigned their jets to fly. And everyone was getting stoked about F-22 and F-35, and they announced that one of the pilots would become a B-2 pilot, of which there's only about 80 in the world, and he was extremely stoic because he was focused and knew that that's a very rare opportunity. So just like the B-2 pilots, these drivers getting ready to go to war here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what this is. And again, second race of these is usually absolutely crazy, and we're green. And some big moves early from way in the back. The top 4 rows looking pretty solid right now as we head down into turn 1. And again, Hibbett and Reyes going for second right from the off. Played that beautifully. And was that Hayden Manis who just made a super aggressive move down into turn 2?
Yeah.
Maybe a little too aggressive, possibly?
Court Schmidt is turned around. Not good.
No.
We'll check in on that one in a little while and see what happened there. But Reyes to second between Forster and Hibbett. That's a great place to be.
Yeah, he gave, and there was not enough room between he and Hibbett's bumper for a piece of paper. He was absolutely going to make sure about that. Yeah, here comes 65 of Manis.
Into the back of court right there.
That was actually, Manis did that perfectly. That who was it that got in the back of court? Manis executed the pass beautifully. A couple of cars up front.
There goes Hayden. On that car.
Right there.
The 200, I think, of Dylan Lee.
Dylan Lee. That's a shame.
And so, per that new rule, if that was ruled to be his fault, which I would imagine that would be ruled that way, that is a sentencing to a night of instruction in their driver's school. But I think there's so much value to that, and I don't even know if I would consider that a punishment, Greg. I think that's a great thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically it's a free night of training. And, that cannot be bad. And, I mean, these instructors include guys like Morgan Burkhardt and Beats Forster. So you're getting some pretty top-notch training when you have to do that. And, you just have to get that training. And if you don't, you're just going to – it's not like you can't race. You're just going to keep starting from pit lane.
Yep.
So you want to get that done and get out there. And right now, this lead group of 3 have opened it up just by about a quarter of a second. Well, as I say that, Soto closes up. And look at Beans absolutely saying, nope, I want to get right back here. But Reyes got to fight him hard. They are door-to-door at the apex of 4. Now this flick through 5, that's going to go Beans' way. That was some great racing. What that did is that's given now Camden a little bit of a margin, and I'm not sure you want to be doing that here.
No, but I'd be really curious to see if Camden can, pull Morgan Burkhardt and drive away from the field there. Morgan has really been the only driver that's been able to do that at any event, at any track. Yeah. I think, if Forster and Reyes can sort of make a truce here and they stop battling, I do think that they'll be able to run Camden back down. He's not quite out of drafting distance just yet. What they have done is quickly separated themselves from Manis and Gilliland as they run side by side behind. So if these drivers battle, it could just be a 4-car race.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, Hayden Manis, that was, we were talking about, having, making a mistake in the first couple of corners. What he did was superb. I mean, he made up a big chunk with that great launch. And so kudos to him here, and that has him right up in that battle, as you said, for the top 5 right now. And he is looking down underneath Andrew Gilliland. They are side by each here coming through. Turned Speedway 3 and now 4 here. And Wan Chi is going to get a big double toe for a minute there.
Ooh, watch that white line. And Gilliland's below it and back above it because Manis goes to driver's right. Wan Chi, a little bit of a slow shift there. That's going to cost him some time down into turn 1. Proper driving, you got to get those shifts just right.
Love these onboard shots, man. Yeah, exactly. And I love the onboards, and I love hearing, what they're doing here. And look at that. That really shows you how everybody understands the dynamic of 3, 4, and 5. When you come out of 3, if you're more than center track, you're going to be slow into 7. I mean, that's how connected these corners are, and they all get that. And look at Beans, man. He's got the grin on his face, man. He loves chasing.
And he's switched back to his traditional camera view. Whoa, someone went for a big ride. Is that?
That's Hayden,
Yeah, Hayden in the 65.
Didn't cost him much. Actually, kind of opened his angle up and gave him a really good drive away from Gilliland there.
Keep her foot in it, I suppose.
Yeah,
I was watching.
Absolutely.
I was watching footage from, I think it was the SCCA Super Tour at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks, or I guess at this point, a couple of months ago. And they didn't have any track limits down there at turn 1. It looked a lot like that. Just keep your foot in it and plant it and all the way out to the wall.
And, but my understanding was that, with the new grass model, off-track model and everything, that now, you would lose speed because you'd lose grip and all that. But I guess if you go off and straighten the wheel out enough, it's not going to hurt you too bad.
The further you go, and I think it kind of depends on the track as well.
Right.
There are some places it'll get you pretty good, but here it doesn't seem to be a huge deal. Forster right in the tailpipes of Hibbett again, looking just like last race, 8/10 clear of Reyes and Soto. And they are side by side.
Reyes giving it up here. Soto, oh, look at that side. That was a side slip by Soto, and Reyes counterpunched. Soto tried to cover him.
Oh, and Reyes is off.
I think he got really squeezed by Soto there once he made the move. Watch this. And then Soto gave him no room.
Oh, man.
And then the touch.
And off into the gravel there. Let's look at that from high above. Again, give us a better perspective.
Yeah, I'm not saying this was Soto's fault. Soto just really squeezed him. You know, you can defend.
Yeah, from that angle, he didn't. It was pretty optimistic probably to go down the inside, but he's been aggressive all night long, and actually there might be another part to this because he was right behind Dean Dibdahl.
Yeah.
And another big lunge there from Reyes, and yeah, that was another optimistic move there. So I think it's slipping away from him, and he's getting a little bit too aggressive on the brakes.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you know, and that's the kind of stuff you got to put that red mist into the right perspective, you know, when it happens here. And he may feel wronged there by Soto. I don't think it was. I think that was just a great defense by Joshua. But I'm sure Reyes may be feeling a little wronged, and now he's letting it get to him at this stage and trying to make it all up in a couple of corners.
Yep.
But doesn't detract from the drive that he had, particularly in that first race at all. It was absolutely superb. But we now find it's up about almost 3/4 of a second, a gap between Hibbett and Forster, and then Soto, and then Manis. Now Hayden Manis, he is having one of his best drives of the season. This has just been spectacular.
Yeah, 9th to 4th in this race alone. And jumping the curb there through turn 1, and he's closing up to Soto, and Soto has closed it back to Forster. So, again, nobody's getting away tonight, making Hibbett's and Forster's job a lot harder than it otherwise would be. And Gilliland, 5th forever. He's just been P5. Anytime we've looked at him, he's P5.
I think he's 5th. And Wozencroft has put in a really good run here, too, right up behind Wan Chi Lin.
Yep,
doing a nice job as well.
Started 11th, up to 7th place.
I'll tell you, if Hayden hangs on here, this could very well be his first ever top 5. So
you're right,
he's at least this season. So he's doing a really nice job.
On before the storm now.
Soto's closed back in again, Ed. He wants to make this at least a threefer.
He's there now. He hasn't led a lot tonight. He's been lingering, so how aggressive will he be? I mean, the aggression that we've seen out of Soto hasn't been to the extent that we've seen out of Jean Reyes, and I almost wonder if he's got to turn the notch up just a little bit to get up alongside Forster and alongside Hibbett and really start to challenge them. That's what Reyes was doing that I really liked earlier, was that he was bringing the challenge to the leaders without making contact with them.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
That's kind of a surprise to them because typically they're all working together up here to some extent. When someone comes up and gets alongside you, but they're not working with you, then it's a bit of a shock. Here comes Soto. Here we go. But he backed out. See, if he had just kept his foot in it there, I think we'd see him in second, maybe even leading this race.
Yeah, and I wonder if in the past we've seen Joshua get a little bit aggressive, make a pass too early, and it doesn't turn out quite right. And I wonder if at this stage now, he's saying, look, I need to be a little bit more patient. If I don't think I can get that clean and not lose time, I'm just going to wait and get out of it. And I think you're right. I think there's a middle ground there for him when he can really start to do something with this. But I'll tell you what, I am just mega impressed with Hayden Manis. Although he continues to do that, runs well off the track, but he seems to be getting pretty good grip on that grass, so why not?
Yeah, I think the key to that might be that there's an access road or something there, and if you can keep it straight on the grass, you'll grip up right when you hit that pavement and carry that a little extra speed without compromising the exit. But that's going to hurt.
Yeah,
too far.
That was too much. And I think that was target fixation because you can see Hibbett and Forster, they turned in. Soto turned in a little early, went a little wider, and then Hayden turned in and went way wider at that. Look at this now. And this is where, when this happens, Hibbett always goes way high and says, I don't want to give anybody any help. And he gets way out of the way here, and then he'll use that banking. Look at him fall down the banking.
Yeah,
and it just gets a heck of a run here.
I think he had a slowdown or something because he gave up a lot of time.
Oh, you think that's what it was?
I think so. Look at Soto. Here he comes. This time he keeps the foot in it, side by side into turn 1 alongside Beans. Forster, can he outbrake him into the first corner?
Side by side Beans is going to give him the room, but he sure as heck is not just going to make it easy. He wants to try and pinch Soto. finally just has to tuck in. Look at that, and look at Hayden Manis working over Hibbett in the background. No, look at Bean squaring up. That is, and he couldn't quite get alongside. I thought he might have enough overlap to have that inside here into turn 7. But boy, that exchange has, look at this, here comes Wan Chi Lin. Is snuck around for the first time. Andrew Gilliland briefly and now permanently for a minute is outside of the top 5 for the first time.
Well, all that was happening. I heard a boom. And John Reyes is off course. Here, let's see if we can see what happened. Yep, there it goes.
Yeah.
From bad to worse to worser.
Yeah. And he'd been fighting his way back up, and look at this now. Bean's going for the lead.
Not wasting any time getting back around, and Camden Hibbett's going to follow, and Soto's going, I just took the lead, guys. Give me a second.
Please. Yeah, now, I mean, what do you do here if you're Soto? If Hayden doesn't go with you, you're just going to get sort of hung out here. I mean, Soto actually got a great drive out of that turn, so he's at least trying to stay there. He's trying to get a little side draft. I don't know how well these things side draft, but
they do.
I'm amazed he's staying there.
Yeah, they do side draft a bit, but not like a stock car does. There's no spoiler to dump anything onto, but they do have that.
Here comes Hayden. Look at this. He's got a 3-car draft side by side in front of him. He is going to get one hell of a pull here.
Off into the first corner, 2x2 flying formation. Who's latest on the brakes? It's Forster, then it's Soto, then it's Hibbett, and then Manis.
This is fascinating. Look at this, top 6, covered by the proverbial blanket here. As we're at 8 minutes to go.
Nice camera shot there, Finian.
That sure is.
He set that drone up beautifully for us.
Yeah, man. Finian on the game, as he always is. Thank you, sir. All right, on board now. Soto sitting in second. Again, Josh Soto comes in here 5th in the points. He's not far behind Beans at this stage, 13 back of Beans. So with Hibbett sitting in 3rd, once again, I'm just fascinated to see, whether Hibbett is laying back purposefully here, because he went way high. And you're right. Maybe that was a slowdown.
Whoa! Look at Gilliland.
Again!
Trying to catch Wan Chi by surprise because they were all tucked up behind each other. And when that happens, Greg, we get a lot of that accordion effect. Gilliland knows that they're all going to be too slow into the corner, took the opportunity and made the pass.
Yep, and Wan Chi did a nice job of kind of pinching Gilliland on the exit. But I'm not sure that Wan Chi really let it roll with the throttle through there, because Gilliland was able to muster enough exit speed still, even pinched on the exit a bit, to be able to sneak back and into his beloved 5th. There we go, Camden again. This is why I was wondering if that was an actual slowdown. I think he's thinking strategy here.
I think now he is. The first time he gave up
look
2
at Hayden.
seconds. Way back comes Hayden Manis.
Hot. Man, did you see the front of that thing dancing on the brakes?
Yeah, he stood that up on the front bumper, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And if he didn't, he was gonna collect the potential points leader here in Camden Hibbett. So that was a great attempt and then a great bail.
Yeah, he left himself an out, and that was the curb.
Yeah, he did.
Climbed up on top of that thing. 6 minutes to go. Should be 4 laps next time by, I think, maybe 3. Going to be close. There's been more racing up at the front here than there was in the previous race. And remember how close we were, Greg, to only having it be a 12-lap race versus 13. It was only 8 or 9 seconds. So
yeah, exactly.
This is going to be pretty tight.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. And look at this. I mean, this whole field. That's all the way. Chase Hance, how about this? From dead last basically to 9th. Deacon Greenfield doing the same thing up into 8th. So we've had a couple of really stout drives here.
Yeah, only 2 DNFs. Max Benkin just was off course, not sure why. Reyes and Guada is back out on the racetrack after having been in pit lane for a few minutes, I think, repairing damage.
Yeah, Court Schmidt, too, got clocked early and broke, but was able to get back out and drive. So here comes Hayden going way low, running the short line.
Yeah, this is interesting that Forster's dragging everybody up high, and I wonder if this is to promote the drivers on the bottom to make up some time maybe and really create the chaos behind. Remember what Morgan said last week?
Yeah,
I like to have everybody, I like to make them fight, and maybe that's what Forster's trying to draw here.
I think that's a really good point, because if you have somebody bothering the guy that's chasing you, that is going to do good things. It's 3 abreast.
How did they make that work?
Oh, Well, I'll tell you, Soto is going to be slow out of this turn. Beans really straight lining it. Camden, though, had the better roll speed on the exit, but I think they were still pretty much side by side. I don't know who gets the biggest advantage here. I'd watch for Hayden to maybe make a surprise pop here. Oh, he looked. He thought about it, didn't he?
He did, and now Camden Hibbett has got all the focus in the world on his face right now. He's just clinical, sitting in second, waiting to make his move. And Joshua Soto saw it all happen out the windshield last race.
Yep.
What did he learn?
Exactly, and hey, big shout out here to Andrew Wozencroft, who in that last lap has gone from 7th to 5th, getting both Deacon and Wan Chi. There he is in that red and yellow car. Absolutely. Oh, problem.
Yeah, Gil.
That's Andrew.
Not exactly sure what happened there. He was slow to the inside.
Yeah.
Did he get looped, or did something else happen here? Oop, was on the brakes kind of early and got tapped. It was real slow kind of center, and
I thought he almost, maybe he got it briefly into the back of Wozencroft and that overchecked up. Oh, look at this.
They continue to battle.
Here we go.
Forster again to the high side. Hibbett pushing Soto, and it is technically 3 laps to go, but we might only have 2. It's going to be close. Look at this.
Down to the inside, didn't get it done.
Wozencroft sitting in 5th, waiting to pick up the pieces.
Man, and he might. I think this is going to be really intense. And Trace Hance now is up into 6th, but he's about 2 seconds adrift. So it's really a top 5. Here's that group of 5 for what, 2 laps, right?
Yeah, well, so it's 3 showing for me now. We're on lap 11 of a presumed 13.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be tighter than it was last race with regards to that extra lap. We crossed the stripe with 6 seconds remaining on the 2 to go previously, or on the 1 to go rather. So it's going to be very, very, very tight whether we get 2 or 1.
Wait, Soto has opened up a 4/10 margin here on his own.
I don't know if I want that though, because 4/10, I'm going to get run back down. Forster late on the brakes.
Yep.
Yeah, 4/10 is a. This is a test now for Forster. Yep. How long does it take to get there?
Yeah, and for Soto, isn't it? He's, maybe going, all right, well, let's see what I can do from the front. We know it's tough.
3/10. 2.5. 2/10, minute 55. I think we're going to get 2 to go this time. It's looking pretty similar to the previous race.
All right. I hope so. There we go. Beans floating to the outside.
White
Where
flag.
does Camden go? Oh!
We did get the white, so this is going to be.
Oh boy, this is it.
Here we go.
Soto down to the inside. Look at Hayden Manis again. Another huge move. This time well up alongside. Clouts the curb. Does he keep the nose inside of Hibbett? Hibbett counters. What an aggressive move by Hibbett. How did he find? That was threading the needle. I didn't think there was a gap there.
Well, Soto and Forster got together a bit down in turn 2. Wozencroft's around in the background. Now it's just 4 cars, but Soto's driven away.
And it looked like that was all by himself for Wozencroft. Oh no, I wonder if he missed a shift.
And the graphics are
just
showing
locked the rears up.
Graphics are showing 2 to go, but remember we saw the white, so it's going to be the last lap. So I think it caught everybody off guard. Look at Hayden Manis. He's just trying to keep his foot in it and keep as much momentum as he can, but it hurt him there.
Yeah, it did. But you're right. There's that access road, and he just keeps it pinned. Now, this is the chess match. It's all coming good here. Trace Hance now up into 5th with Deacon Greenfield in 6th. Great drives by them, but all focus now on the top 4. Manis again running wide out of 8.
3/10 of a second. Kyle. Yeah, 3/10 of a second. Camden Hibbett is in a perfect spot to win this race, and Soto is not going to be able to do much about it. He's trying to weave to break the draft. Fair play until it's a reactive maneuver to the car behind. Forster's got to run too, but where does he go?
Well, that's it. And I'm waiting to see now whether Camden is going to, if he gets close, if he, the problem is that this time Forster's so close, I don't think he can do that float, but he just decides I'm going for it.
Here he comes, and Forster's going to have a run too to the checkers. Who gets there first?
Oh, again, Hibbett by.
I think he got him. 12 1,000ths. And
oh my God.
It was almost exactly the same as the first race. Forster about a 10th back.
Yep. Unbelievable. And basically, Hibbett wins them both by a combined margin of victory of 41 thousandths of a second.
That is an insane statistic.
It is. Look at that move again. And Beans, I don't know that Beans really gave him a lot of help. That was just Hibbett.
I mean, that is an unbelievable finish here. 12 1,000ths. This is proper Miata racing on a big track, isn't it?
You betcha. This is what it's about. Look at that.
And
wow.
Just perfect. I mean, he almost didn't get there again, right? I mean, he had the big run coming, but Soto was weaving a bit, and we saw Camden move up the racetrack. And going up is harder than going to the bottom, right? You're going a longer way around.
Yeah.
But he got there just in time both times.
But I really have a sense that Hibbett has figured out, he didn't mind, I don't think, seeing Soto go high, because he went with him, and then he uses that coming down the banking in the draft to really get that little bit of extra speed. And let's just put this in perspective. Look at this. Top 3, Kyle, in this one covered by 92 milliseconds.
That's an incredible stat.
I mean, yeah, just phenomenal.
Hayden Manis.
Just phenomenal stuff.
Best finish he's ever had, P4. Trace Hance, 5th. Deacon Greenfield, 6th. Juan Shi Lin, 7th. Andrew Gilliland recovered to an 8th after that spin. Wozencroft, 9th. And Dylan Lee, 10th. Different top 10 than we're used to seeing here, Greg. So some drivers were able to take advantage of some other drivers not being here.
Absolutely. And, you think about it. Josh Soto with 2 really good runs comes in here 5th in the points. He's not that far behind Beans. So Josh, that's going to close up a little bit. Obviously, unfortunately for Dean Dibdahl and Deacon Greenfield and Juan Chi, they were just back a little bit. Andrew Wozencroft, if he'd been able to hang on to that top 5, that would have been his first top 5. That was really unfortunate for him. As we take a look at the rest of the results here, of course, Kurt Schmidt getting hit early and then coming back out and just trying to put some laps in here. John Reyes looked really good early. Then I think he got flustered when I'm pretty sure he's going to think that Josh did him wrong, and that flustered him, and he let it get to him. But man, I was impressed with his drive in that first race. I was really impressed with what he was doing in the first half of this one.
Yeah, so what a great night of racing here at Homestead-Miami.
Oh, boy.
And it goes to show you don't need a massive field to put on a great race. I mean, this is one of our smaller fields here this season, but I think we still saw some of the most competitive action we've seen all year, Greg. And we've got 2 races left to go that are very popular on the calendar, Road America and Sebring. So if we didn't get enough action this week, next and the week after the finale, we'll have plenty to show.
You bet. Remember, this Thursday night, Road America group practice here. Just check it out at Full Send Sims if you want to get a little extra time on Road America before next Tuesday night. Wow, what a couple of races. Camden Hibbett sweeps it and gets both of them, Kyle, with some absolutely extraordinary strategy. We said it at the top. The drafting chess game is on. Camden played it to perfection.
Well, he certainly did. Now, Beans Forster was one of the drivers that we talked about. Finished 2nd in race 1 and 3rd in race 2. Let's talk with him now. Beans, what a crazy night of racing. P2 and P3. Holy cow, that was a lot of fun. Take us through your evening and trying to set somebody up to go to the top there at the very tail end of those races.
So I was trying to not be leading coming to the end of those, the lap in the first race. But kind of the situation was there for me to take it, and I figured why not? I'd rather not lose too much time and let everybody behind catch up a little bit because the draft is so strong here. So I tried it, didn't play out in my favor. Probably, a couple thousandths between me and Camden. So yeah, it was tough. I tried to play it as smart as I could, but I was just a hair shy every single time.
Well, and this track, that run to the checker is so tough. And if you're leading, you're almost a sitting duck, no matter what you do, unless you've been able to just absolutely check out here. I mean, we were talking about this. You were second by 28 1,000ths at the line. So it was that close. And we were wondering, were you at some point thinking I should back up a little bit here and let everybody behind Camden start piling into him? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it was kind of tough because I was doing that to a point, but I didn't want to do it too much because with how aggressive Soto is, Soto's going to go for the move if it's there every time. And then I haven't driven around Hayden a lot either. And then having Gene Reyes too right there. So there was a lot of fairly either quick people or people that I kind of wasn't sure what their kind of racecraft's like.
Right.
So I had to back up a little bit. I did it a lot more in like the earlier parts of the lap, and then a lot more coming to the apex. So I would just trail the brake a little bit more and just kind of slow it up right there and then get on the throttle.
Yeah.
But I had to play it. I had to kind of roll my dice sometimes, because if I did it too much when there was like a 2/10 or a 3/10 gap, then they would just get on the throttle and then kind of overpower me on the exit. So there, I was playing different scenarios kind of every corner coming through those last few laps to try and snake that win. When I went outside of Soto in Camden, in NASCAR 4, that was like my big brain move. I just did it a lap too early.
Well, hey, you kept exploring, you kept, doing whatever you could, and ended up, 2 podiums and some absolutely fabulous racing. Thanks, Beans.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're gonna love watching this one back.
It's a good
I
one.
can't wait. See you guys.
See ya.
All right.
All right, let's see. We've got, I think Josh Soto is up next. He was 4th in race 1, but 2nd in race 2. Josh, so close. 12 1,000ths of a second. What could you do different?
Differently, probably. It's really all in the positioning. I definitely could have positioned my car a lot better. But, Camden had a great run out of the, going up to the oval and things like that. Especially into the braking zone. That's where he was able to set up the pass for the win.
Well, it looked like on that last lap, you were trying almost a Camden move where you went up the oval just a little bit. One, I would think, trying to break the toe if you could, but also were you trying to get the banking to help ramp you down going into that turn?
Yeah, I was trying to break the draft as much as possible. Sure. But unfortunately, it doesn't. Sometimes it works. It really depends. It only usually works on like on a straight. But when you do that, you just end up losing a lot more momentum. So it just really depends on the car behind and how they're drafting.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys put on an absolute clinic. This last race in particular was just fascinating tonight. Both of them were great, but man, great drive. And just love watching you race. I love how you just go for it. And it's just fun, man. Thank you so much for being a part of this series.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank everybody that's involved. And I really appreciate your guys' commentary. It's really fun to watch after the races.
Oh, good, man. Well, we sure love calling it for you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least is going to be Camden Hibbett. Won both races tonight, and Camden, man, that was exciting stuff. I think the combined margin of victory this evening was a couple hundredths of a second. Race 2, 12 1,000ths of a second. You timed it perfectly. How tight were you grinding your teeth there to get that last couple feet at the end?
Yeah, the second race was definitely closer than I was expecting, I think. I didn't time my run perfect. I was lifting on the backstretch trying to time the run, get the gap right. I think I lifted just a little bit too much, but we were 11 thousandths to the good, something like that. So just enough of a run at the end there to get by Josh.
Yeah, 12 1,000ths in this one. The combined margin of victory, as Kyle said, was 40 1,000ths of a second for both races, bud. It was that close. I got to know, it looked to me, particularly in that first race, that you got a good run too soon, maybe, even on that last lap going into 3 and 4 on the speedway. And it looked like you went up high and then used that little bit of down bank to, as you picked up the draft again, to use that downhill run, and you popped out. It just looked like brilliant strategy. Was that what you were playing at?
Yeah. So I moved up the racetrack to kind of break the draft a little bit. It breaks the draft, and going obviously that longer distance builds the gap, but it doesn't lose any. You don't lose any speed. So you actually, it's almost like infinite draft, I guess. Until you get down to the start finish line, obviously, because you can go back up, you can get all that draft speed, move up the racetrack, maintain that speed, and gain the gap again. And then you'll get back in line and get that draft, and you'll be basically 2 times speed with the draft. So that's kind of what I was going for, because I knew I didn't have quite the run I wanted, and I was gonna pop right in the middle of the corner, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I gotta have the run on exit. So went up the racetrack a little bit, gave myself a little bit more of a gap, and then got the run. I think that was 27,000, something like that. So timed that one a little bit better, 13 thousandths of a second better than the second race.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kyle and I were talking beforehand with you coming in here, with Morgan not being here, an opportunity in terms of the points. Were you going to take it really easy and just earn points? How are you going to play it? Your response was to drive 2 of the most strategically built, brilliant races we've seen in this series. Thank you, Camden. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I gotta give a quick shout out to Justin Piscatel. We at the sprints this weekend, we were talking about the whole side drafting technique with the SMX series, and it definitely helped out here tonight. So thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
All right, Kevin. That's a fascinating topic there. That side draft, Justin Piscatel, current competitor in the Toyota GR Cup series as well. So pretty fascinating, Greg. But with that, man, what a great racing weekend it was here, or I guess great race week at Homestead. But we've got 2 rounds to go, 1 at Road America, 1 at Sebring. Greg, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular to wrap this season up. I was waiting when you said to Joshua, 12 1,000ths of a second, what could you have done different? I was really hoping he'd say be 13 thousandths faster. But I mean, and for you, it has been an amazing weekend coming from Pikes Peak. Great job there, and then calling this here is always fantastic stuff. Again, huge thank you, Full Send Sims. We've got to get that in for them always, and to all of our other fabulous sponsors. We're running a little short on time here. Farah, they have been absolutely great coming on here. Again, Final Turn Motorsports, Rob Greenwood and his group, spectacular. Same with Frank Rodriguez and 3P Logistics and Wine Country Motorsports. And again, as Kyle was talking about, remember, it's Road America next week. Thursday night, we get to test there. And with that, I'm just going to take us out. Again, a huge thank you to Finney and DeCuna. We talked about some of those amazing camera angles that he came up with. The guy's magic. Of course, Kyle, always just a treat to work with you. And I'm glad you're recovering from Pikes Peak. I'm Greg Kramer, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Cannot wait.